So, I know this looks like a lot, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me right now, but I'm gonna figure it out. We're gonna work through this right here. We're gonna work through it. It's a beautiful day. Bubbly, if you want to sponsor me, I love you. I'm gonna teach you guys how to make books today. Happy summer, everybody.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Maddie. Today in our club, we're going to be making books.
Here I go. So I'm the type of artist that likes to keep a sketchbook. I've kept sketchbooks like throughout my entire life. My sketchbooks are really special and I carry them around with me everywhere, and I want them to reflect my personality and my ideas. So a great way to do that is to make your own. Now, if you look into bookbinding on the internet, it's kind of intimidating. You'll find a lot of people who are bookbinding experts taking you through like 100 steps on how to do a hardbound book. You know, they'll tell you you need a specific type of glue or a specific type of paper or whatever. And when I was younger, that definitely intimidated me and kept me from learning how to make books until I was in college. And really, bookmaking doesn't have to be that difficult or scary. And I'm going to show you how to make your own beautiful books. You don't need any special skills to do it. Okay, so for the first book we're going to make, which is this soft-bound book, you only need like 4 things. Those things are a stack of paper. I'm just using computer paper. This is 8.5 by 11. Whatever paper you want for this. Okay, I would maybe stay away from doing like really thick paper. These are going to be for your pages. Okay. For the cover, I would recommend choosing a thick piece of paper because it's going to protect the inside of your book. For this, I'm going to use this piece of handmade paper I made. If you're interested in learning how to make your own handmade paper, I recommend watching my last video on how to make handmade paper at home. The last 2 things you're going to need for this really simple book is a staple gun and some scissors.
Alright, let's make a book. The first thing I'm doing is taking my handmade paper and folding it in half. I'm trimming the edges of this paper so the cover is the size that I want it to be. Now I'm going to fold my pages. I'm folding every 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper in half and nesting them inside of one another. This is going to create one signature. This printer paper is a little too big for the cover I made, so I'm putting the cover around the sheets of paper. I'm tracing the outside of the cover and cutting off the excess paper. It's a little bit hard to cut a lot of sheets of paper at once with small scissors. The paper tends to flay out and you get really uneven strips. I'm just slowly trimming these papers until they're even enough on all sides. Alright, the only thing you have to do now is staple your book together. Now, you can't use a staple gun right onto the floor or a table. You'll just staple the book to the table. I would suggest pushing 2 tables together so that there's a little area for the staple to go, or using the small spaces between the pieces of wood on a deck if you have one. That's what I'm doing. The staples won't close by themselves, so I'm just using my finger and a hammer to fold the sharp edges of the staples down and hammer them flat.
So I finished this soft-bound book, but I noticed that because the cover is handmade paper, when I folded the paper, I could see just some of the paper fiber coming off. So for this step, I'm just going to glue a piece of fabric just on that edge to protect it.
I'm just using a little bit of scrap fabric for this, and I'm cutting out a strip using some fabric glue right onto the book there, spreading it around with my fingers and tightly gluing that piece of fabric to the spine of my book. This will make sure the staples don't fall out or snag on anything. I'm also adding a little name tag on the front of my sketchbook so I can write my name on it or the title of the book if it has a theme. Alright, here's your finished book. It's super easy to make and looks really professional. These sketchbooks are my favorite because they're really small and easy to complete.
So level 2 bookmaking, I'm going to teach you guys how to make a hardcover book with the spine and everything. Now, I am not an expert bookmaker. If you're an expert bookmaker, you may roll your eyes at this because maybe I'm not using the right glue or right tools, but I need to be able to teach kids how to make books in a way that makes them feel confident that they can do it by themselves. So first, I'm going to go over the tools you'll need to make a hardbound book. First thing you're going to need is a ruler, a hammer, and a nail. I don't actually know where I put my nail, but I'll find it when I need it, okay? You need a hammer and a nail, a box cutter. If you're a kid, ask for permission first, please, before you go and grab someone's box cutter, okay? If you need help from like an adult to do this, ask for it, okay? Don't be a hero. You're going to need some needle and thread. Okay, let's talk about glue. You're going to need some glue for this project. What I really want you to get and what you should use for bookmaking is called PVA glue. If you want to make a book at home, I'm assuming you don't have PVA glue. So I'm just going to do some experimenting. I'm going to try just regular Elmer's glue. Okay, the next thing you're going to need is a piece of bookboard. Now, bookboard is basically this piece that's in the back of a lot of sketchbooks, okay? It's like cardboard, but it's dense and it doesn't have those like corrugated holes in it. Okay, also, I just found this pretty fancy looking paper. It's my mom's. I'm gonna maybe use it. I don't know yet, but I just have it here just for fun, okay? So maybe we'll use it, maybe we won't, who knows. All right, the last thing you're gonna need for your hardcover bound book are some clips, all right?
Alright friends, let's make a hardbound book. First thing I'm doing is grabbing my stack of printer paper and cutting them all in half. The box cutter cuts through several pieces of paper at once, and it's all going to be even. I'm folding the pages and nesting them inside each other 5 pages at a time. So this book will have 5 signatures, and each signature will be made out of 5 sheets of paper. Alright, I found my nail. It was in the carpet. Good thing I didn't step on it. We're going to create holes in the signatures so that we can easily sew them together. I'm sticking the nail right in the fold of the inside of the signatures and hammering a hole right through all 5 sheets of paper. I'm punching 2 holes in the folds of all of my signatures. You should probably measure the holes so that they're an equal distance apart, but I didn't. For this book, it won't really matter because we're not going to see the inside of the spine of your book. Alright, grab your needle and thread. It's time to sew your book together. I'm threading the needle and pulling the thread all the way through and tying several knots at the end so that the knot is too big to fit through the hole that you punched. It should look like you're sewing with 2 threads. There's no secret to sewing this book together. I'm just starting on the inside of the fold, pulling the thread all the way through so that the knot catches, going back into the fold through the outside of the book, and the signatures sew together. Now you could tie a knot and cut this off and then rethread your needle 4 more times, but I'm just going to bring that thread right back through that first hole that I made and continue to sew the rest of my signatures with the same thread. I'm always starting by sticking my needle through the hole on the outside of the fold. Do not worry about connecting the signatures this way. We are going to glue those 5 signatures of paper together. So the sewing part is just to make sure the pages don't fall out of the signature. Again, a signature is that grouping of paper that is nested within one another. If you run out of thread in the middle of sewing your signatures together, I'm just rethreading my needle and tying the end only once to the thread we're already working with. Seriously, do not worry about how you're sewing these books together. Your goal is to just secure those papers so they don't fall out from their signature. So looking at the spine of this book right now looks a little hectic. As you can see, my sewing job's not perfect, but it doesn't matter. Alright, now we can glue the spine of our book. I'm cutting out a strip of fabric that's going to be the spine of our book. Really make sure that your pages are as perfect as you can make them. Then I'm putting a line of Elmer's glue on the sewn spine of the book and tightly clipping the fabric to the book. This has to dry now, so I'm going to put it to the side and work on my cover. For the cover, I'm using bookboard that I got off the back of a watercolor sketchbook, and I'm taking the pages I already folded and measuring the size of the cover. It's going to be the same size as your page. So you're going to mark that measurement with your pencil and use the ruler to make sure your cuts are straight. When you use a box cutter, it is super important that you never cut towards yourself. As you can see, I'm always cutting horizontally. This is to make sure that if your hand slips, you're not going to accidentally stab yourself. Alright, so once you have both of your covers cut to size, you have to cut out the spine. If you have a thin spine, you're going to be cutting out a thin piece of bookboard. This might be a little difficult, so really, for this step, if you need help, ask for it. Alright, we got front cover, back cover, and your spine. So you're going to lay out all three of these things on top of your cover. Your cover could be a piece of paper, but I'm using some fabric that I have. I'm putting a light layer of glue on one side of my covers and the spine and gluing it to the fabric. When you glue your spine down, you do not want it to touch either of the covers, but you want it to be as close as you can get it. This is going to make sure that you can open and close your book freely. Once you have the covers and the spine glued down, you're going to cut out your covers and your spine so that there is an inch extra fabric or paper on the outside of it. So with this extra fabric, we are going to fold it over. And to do that, the first thing you have to do is cut a line from the corner of the fabric to the corner of your bookboard. Put a little bit of glue on that bookboard and fold the fabric over as tight as you can. Make sure you do the two longest sides before the shorter sides. That's because you want to glue down those little flaps like so. And it's almost going to feel like you're wrapping a present. Try to glue these pieces of fabric down as tightly as you can. The Elmer's glue wasn't really sticking the fabric to each other, so I used a little bit of fabric glue there. Alright, the spine of your book should be dry by now. So I'm going to cut the excess fabric off of the pages we glued together. Okay, the next thing we need to do is put a line of Elmer's glue right down the spine of your book. Line it up with the spine of the glued together pages. Stick it together. Now you're going to hold this here and wait for a couple of minutes. Wait till it's dry. Alright, our book's done. Now we just got to cover up this ugly inside part. I chose this fancy red paper to match the thread that I used to sew the pages together. I'm cutting out this red paper so that it will completely conceal the inside of the cover and the first page of your book. When you're done, your book's gonna look a little something like this. As you can see, I got my pretty red paper here. That's a nice opener and closer for my book. And I'm actually really surprised at how well the Elmer's glue held up. My only problem is that I noticed that the Elmer's glue seeped through the fabric of the paper on the front and back covers. Next time, I would use a brush to spread the glue around in a thinner layer so that this wouldn't happen. When you open your book, you'll see that little pop of thread right there, and it's a nice accent that goes along with the red inside. Closing the book, you can see that my covers aren't completely perfect, but like I always say, imperfection creates character. And here are your beautiful books. If you decide to make a book yourself, show me. Follow me on Instagram at Art Club Lessons and tag me in your work at #ArtClubLessons. If you like this video, please subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.